Now, as I mentioned a little earlier, I'm reporting live from beautiful Rockhampton in central Queensland this morning. Now, there's a couple of really fascinating contests that are going to be in play this weekend. First of all, it's the seat of Rockhampton, which has always basically been Labor. They've held it consistently since 1950. The LNP has just not been able to make a mark here, but for whatever reason, and we'll get to that in a moment, the LNP is getting stronger. One Nation's getting stronger in the region, the Katters are getting stronger, but the independents are also getting stronger as well. Why? Well, there's a number of issues, just like it is right around the state. Crime is a problem, cost of living is a problem, but also health. It's a really big problem here involving the main hospital in Rockhampton, particularly when it comes to ramping. So if we bring up some of the latest data from Queensland Health, now bear in mind, ramping's when you want to move a patient from an ambulance to a hospital. Usually you have about 30 minutes to do so. 10 years ago, the ramping rate was 1%. 1% of patients exceeded that 30-minute time period. That's now up to 50%. So it's completely blown out, and it's what might cost Labor the seat here after so long. So Margaret Strelow, who was mayor at the time when I was a cadet reporter here in Rockhampton many, many moons ago. We don't need to talk about that at the moment. But anyway, Margaret, you're running as in, but you used to be Labor, but you've changed.
The Labor Party is not what it used to be, and it has not done well by my community. So I was mayor, I've stepped down as mayor. Now I'm making a fight to put Rockhampton back centre stage when the state government is formed.
Let's go to that hospital. I mean, you've been outspoken in the past about it. What's gone on? Why is it so bad?
Look, I had people streaming into my office telling me their stories. A 9-year-old girl who'd been waiting for her tonsils and adenoids to be removed for 5 years. Had become, a behaviour problem at school, couldn't go on sleepovers, and that's all she wanted, was to be able to have sleepovers. But people waiting 4 years for hip replacements or just doing it, paying for it out of their superannuation. What we know, if we look for a comparison area, Cairns has similar demographics, similar geographic spread to Rockhampton, but we are only 84% of their population. So we are 84% of their population. We have 50% of their beds. We have 50% of their doctors. We have just over 50% of their allied health staff, and we get 63% of their budget. Now, is it any wonder that our hospital is broken?
Now, ramping, it's not, when it comes to ramping, that's not the issue. The issue is, I kind of refer it to as a pipeline. There's a blockage in the pipeline. It leads from one position, and usually that's because of a lack of beds, lack of staff. So how are you going to fix all of that? Because that's going to take a long time. And no government really around the country, because it's a countrywide problem, has been able to fix it.
The AMA have come out with a round table and a plan of attack, which for the most part seems to make sense to me. The last thing anyone needs is for a school teacher to be giving advice on how we should repair a broken hospital system. But they talk about extending the hours theatre is open, flying up surgeons. A lot of it's been a difficulty of getting surgeons to Rockhampton, and that's all driven. Some of it is just difficulties generally from whether we want to blame COVID or how far back we want to go. But we also have this long pipeline of people now who need to be dealt with, and we can't sit and say, well, in 18 months' time we'll have someone over from South Africa. So we've got to do a now thing as well as a longer term. Okay, now you saw the debate last night. I want to bring up another part of it last night because it relates to political truth in advertising or a lack of truth. We've got your own personal example leading to that. First of all, let's just play this moment during the debate last night when it related to political truth in advertising.
It's been quite a combative campaign. Can I ask you, do either of you have plans for truth in political advertising legislation in the next term, Premier?
We don't, no, but we do have some ads running at the moment from the LNP that are deeply misleading. The AMA have asked them to stop running them, and they've continued to run them, which is obviously, really disappointing, and it makes it really hard for Queenslanders to make up their mind when they're bombarded with things like that.
Well, the ad the Premier's talking about is our commitment to get rid of Labor's patient tax, which comes in on the 1st of July. The comments are exactly from the AMA and attributable to...
They've asked you to stop.
Now, if the Premier wants to also campaign on removing a Labor tax that starts on the 1st of July, he could, and he should put that. But he was denying that it existed until a little while ago.
Okay, so what I got from that is that there's not going to be any change. But Margaret Strelow's got an actual example of that. Truth in advertising, these flyers that are going out in Rocky at the moment. Just tell us about what it is and how incorrect it is.
Well, this flyer, specially prepared for Rockhampton against me by the LNP candidate, says that a vote for Margaret Strelow is a vote for Labor. In fact, I have given my straight preference to the LNP because I believe that if I'm not the candidate, LNP would be better for Rockhampton simply because of a change of government coming up. So this is pathetic. It's not what I would expect from the candidate, and it's, I suppose it's what we've gotten used to from the major political parties.
Does that show they're worried about you?
Well, it does, and so they should be. I think, you know, I've had some good feeling at the polls, but this type of thing is done because it does work. It's not even remotely true. It's quite pathetic, to be honest.
OK. Maybe take it as a badge of honour, Margaret. Margaret Strelow running as an independent at this election. Best of luck. Thank you so much for your time.